Welcome to Sports on the Go, episode 7. Today we got Patrick coming in from Kenya. Patrick, how are you doing?
I'm good, dude. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Today we're going to be talking about the NFL and the NBA. We'll start off with the NFL, something we have not talked about so far on this podcast, but let's talk about the teams coming into next season. We all know it's been a tough offseason for every team dealing with coronavirus, and we all know some teams are setting up bubbles in their own hotels like the Cowboys just recently did. But we all know which teams to watch. We know the Buccaneers are looking good this year, the Saints, the Eagles, the 49ers, the Chiefs. But which team would you give the upper hand? Who do you think is going to take home the Super Bowl, especially in these weird conditions?
I think we got to give respect to the champion, and I think the Kansas City Chiefs have a really high odd to win. First of all, they got Travis Kelce, amazing tight end, arguably the best tight end in the league. They have the best quarterback in the league with Patrick Mahomes
Yeah.
and 2018 MVP. But I also think there is a threat with the New Orleans Saints with acquiring Emmanuel Sanders from the Niners. Definitely, the Niners have a good odds of winning. And I think the Buccaneers are going to be an upset, no doubt. Maybe not make the finals, but definitely an upset.
Yeah, no, I would agree with most of the teams. I think the Chiefs, you always have to watch out for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They're playing really good football right now, and the talent they have with Tyreek Hill and getting Hilaire, so that's going to be dangerous. I think if the Ravens can figure out a way to get past the first round of the playoffs, that'd be very important for them because Lamar Jackson right now has not shown us that he can succeed in the playoffs. So getting
No.
even to the AFC Championship game would be a success for them, but you still have to watch out for teams like that.
Mm.
I think watching the Eagles Cowboys again this year is going to be very interesting. We know that's one of the best rivalries in the NFL history. So seeing
Yeah.
which team's going to come out on top in that division, because we all know the Eagles got better this offseason drafting Jalen Rager and the wide receiver help they needed, and the Cowboys getting CeeDee Lamb. So that'll be a very interesting watch, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles win the Super Bowl. As you know, I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm hoping
Yeah.
that happens. And but we'll see. I mean, I think the 49ers also have a good shot. They have a great coach. I
I
think
think,
sorry.
yeah, I think another threat in the NFC would definitely be the Packers. First of all, the Packers have one of the best O lines in the league, but they have one arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Aaron Rodgers. But they're definitely going to be a threat. Like they were a threat in the playoffs this year, but we never know. It might happen. They had some good draft picks this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my biggest concerns with one of the with that team is the receiver help they have. They have Devontae Adams,
Yeah.
but as soon as he goes down, they really have no one to throw the ball to without having
Mm.
a really big established tight end. And my other concern with one of the other teams, the 49ers, they made the Super Bowl this year. They had the lead in the fourth quarter, and they eventually they choked. And my concern is with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, you're a 49ers fan. Are you concerned with him at all? Do you think the 49ers are ready to win a Super Bowl, but that's the one piece they're missing, a winning, like a quarterback that's capable of winning Super Bowl?
I think it's a interesting situation right now with the Niners because, well, first of all, we were in the lead for most of the Super Bowl, but then Patrick Mahomes did his magic and
Yep.
performed amazing. But at the same time, I think we do have a roster that can win the Super Bowl. We have one of the best running games in the league with George Kittle, who's a blocking machine, Raheem Mostert, who completely like showed up in the Super Bowl,
Yep.
and Garoppolo might not be a top 10 quarterback in the league, but he does know his role. And I think if we have a good backup quarterback, maybe like other signings within the season, I definitely think that the Niners will be a major threat and have good chances of winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the Niners are going to make some noise. The question is, will they have that post Super Bowl loss problems at the beginning of the year? But that's something to look forward to. And some really good matchups coming up this season. We got Eagles Ravens and Eagles Niners that I'm looking forward to especially. Moving on now, let's talk about the NBA. The
Yeah.
NBA announced yesterday, I believe, that they were going to give out bubble awards, so bubble MVP. And I think there's a couple players that could win this bubble MVP. Definitely looking at T.J. Warren, who's had a phenomenal run, like we've never seen
Yeah.
before from him, especially because he was traded for cash considerations from the Suns. And then we have Joel Embiid, who had a really good couple games, but he has missed his fair share of games in these 8. And then we have Giannis, who's been playing really well. And then last but not least, Damian Lillard, who's been playing phenomenally, getting the Blazers into the 8 spot and looking to play the Lakers in the first round. But who do you think is going to take home the bubble MVP?
Well, it's a really interesting combination of players this year. Regarding that, one of them is not even an all-star, not
Yeah.
even averaging 20 points. But I think we have to see kind of the effect it's having on the team's success. So I would probably most likely give it to Giannis because of his consistency and like honestly, he's kind of carrying his team at the moment in the bubble. Chris
Yeah.
Middleton is not necessarily showing up in all the games. He had a few good games, averaging like scoring 23 in one of them, but like we have to kind of see the consistency and level of consistency that Giannis has been carrying on since last year.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting if Damian Lillard got his with those 61 points, or even TJ Warren with that 53 bomb in the beginning of the bubble. That was amazing.
Yeah, and there's another thing that I wanted to talk about was last night I watched the Suns Sixers games, and it was really interesting to see the Suns and Sixers play because the Sixers didn't have Horford, no Embiid, no Simmons, no Richardson, no Harris, so they're missing their five best players on the team easily, and they played a Suns team that was 6-0, and throughout the entire game we saw a really close matchup. We saw it was a 5-point game for the Suns leading, and then the Sixers led, and then eventually the Suns came out on top. But what does that say for the Sixers? I mean, a lot of the time we talk about the Sixers' depth and their struggles with their chemistry and not playing well. But we just saw yesterday with all these youngsters and Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson and Furkan Korkmaz, all these guys came to play and they really played well with Raul Neto. So if you're a Sixers fan, was that good to see, or does it really mean nothing?
I think being a Sixers fan at the moment, and especially after seeing that game, it's a scary moment for the Sixers in a good way and in a bad way. But the thing is, for example, not having Simmons and not having Horford, Josh Richardson, Joel Embiid, that was like it was really interesting to see them not play that well, considering that most of their starting lineup was not on the court.
Yeah.
And another thing is with this Ben Simmons injury and with this kind of like weird moment in franchise history, I think it's time for one of those players to get traded, either Embiid or Simmons. I think Simmons would be the best option to trade and build around Embiid, having a good shooting lineup.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, with the pace that the Suns are going, I don't think that game meant much. And
Yeah.
I think it's just showing that, the young core in the Sixers is impressive, especially with that second round pick in Shake Milton, who is an absolute baller. But I think it's an interesting moment in Sixers, and I think the Sixers can make it to the finals if they trade one of their stars for either really good pieces or a point guard.
Yeah, and there's been news floating around the league that the Cleveland Cavaliers are coming up with a trade package to get Ben Simmons. And
Right.
as a Sixers fan, I, I would love to make it work with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Definitely two top 15 players in the NBA right now. And I mean, I really wouldn't want to trade one of them away, or just not yet. But the Cavaliers have been talking that they're getting a lot of first round picks. As we all know, they have a really young core, so trading away some pieces and hopefully getting an enticing package done for Ben Simmons. The other thing we want to talk about was playoff matchups. So now that the Sixers likely won't have Ben Simmons, as he's going to be reevaluated in another week and a half, they won't
Yeah.
have him for the first round most likely, maybe not even the second round. Right now they're scheduled to play the Boston Celtics in the first round, which we all know the Celtics have taken that series in the last season, the year before. So do the Sixers have a shot without Ben Simmons? This year the Sixers are 3-1 versus the Celtics. So they've had success against them this season. But let's talk about the Sixers versus Celtics, and then we'll talk about the Heat versus Pacers, because those are the two really interesting matchups that are in the middle of this Eastern Conference.
I think the Celtics would have it would be an interesting series, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I don't think the immense power that the Celtics are carrying in their roster, that super talented roster, and especially regarding that the Sixers might not even have Ben Simmons or like an injured Embiid or an injured Horford, is a really scary thought, because I definitely think the Sixers could have a fighting chance if Shake Milton steps up, if Al Horford steps up, which he wasn't doing this entire season. I think they could win a few games, but taking the dub would be very, very hard. And I think it would be like a flash for the Sixers to realize that one of the players has to go.
Okay, so you would take the Celtics in how many games?
I think the Sixers could win one game, so a 5-game series.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to disagree with that and say Sixers in 4, but let's move on now to the Heat. So the
All
Heat,
right.
we all know Butler, Warren, and they have that big rivalry going on right now. They got
Yeah.
heated earlier in the season. and they're gonna play one more time to end this 8-game stretch. But if they meet in the playoffs, which they're likely to do, which team are you taking?
Well, I think that's an obvious pick. I'm definitely taking the Heat, but it would be an awesome series to watch, especially this rivalry between Warren and Butler. Um, After Butler's really harsh words saying that he's not even in his league, it's gonna be a heated series. But at the same time, like the Celtics matchup, it would be the Heat have a lot of talent on their roster.
Yeah.
They have experience in Butler. They have Duncan Robinson, who's an absolute beast on paint. And they also have Adebayo, who's a rising star.
Yeah.
Could be is in the most improved conversation. They have Tyler Hero, and they have a lot of others like Kendrick Nunn and stuff.
Yeah.
That roster is really stacked if you look at it, and they also have experience. So the Indiana Pacers are looking nice. Victor Oladipo is not fully back from his injury yet, but I'm taking the Heat.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with that and say that I would also take the Heat in 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers took it in 6. Because for this reason, the Pacers, they have Victor Oladipo, and we have not seen him at his full health right now. He's not 100%. But if he's able to step up and start dropping 20 a game, along with Brogdon and Miles Turner stepping up against Adebayo, and his outside shooting is getting better, I really think the Pacers have a shot. I mean, they're playing really good basketball right now. They've beaten some really good teams. And if Warren can keep playing the basketball he's playing, dropping 25, 30 a game, they really have – I believe they have a good chance of beating the Heat. The Heat are very talented. That's the thing. So they would need to play fantastic defense. But the Pacers are a really good coach. They have Nate McMillan, and he's coaching them really well right now, and they're playing really good basketball. So I wouldn't be surprised if I saw an upset there.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. We can't forget that they also have an all-star in Domantas Sabonis. Yeah. They have Miles Turner, who's a paint beast. And Domantas Sabonis, if he could step up his defense a bit and keep those rebound numbers consistent, I definitely think they have a fighting chance.
Yeah, and definitely next year with Sabonis coming back from his injury, he's not going to be playing the playoffs this year. But next year, hopefully, the Pacers will be able to really make some noise in the Eastern Conference. But they still have a fighting shot. I don't think they're going to make the finals, but I think they can make it to the second round, and they could make some noise in the East.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you all for tuning in today. I'm sure you guys will see Patria again in coming episodes. So thank you for tuning in to episode 7 of Sports on the Go, and see you next time.